when she went grocery shopping, when I went back to Washington, she sent her to the store, and you were talking about the welfare thing, and she was in the store. There was a moment where we saw the camera follow her for a period of time, and I feel like that's important. If they're following her and she's shopping, and it struck me, something said the mom knows, because she was prepping her, because when she came back at the end, this is why I thought it, when she came back at the end, when she came from the South, what did she start doing? Cleaning everything, turning all the lights on. Remember that? She turned the lights on. I'm like, why is she
Make
doing
sure the
that?
electricity was back on.
Oh, yeah, right. But she also took ownership in
Yes.
the house more,
Yes.
because she had been down South, and she knows how clean it was, and the ownership that people took. And you know how Brooklyn can be dirty. Now, back then, they had signs up in the beginning that said "Clean your neighborhood." Remember, they showed
I
that twice
love
at the
those
beginning.
inserts. Yes.
Remember that? We
Yes.
don't see that anymore. So
We
it was
don't.
like she was taking ownership and responsibility, and that was another sign that she was about to be put into that position that her mother was leaving. And I think that was a foreshadowing of what was to come. So I feel like, yes, the mom knew at some point. I don't know if she knew in the beginning, but at some point she figured, she knew what was happening with her. And maybe the dad knew too, but they just kept it from the kids, could have happened, just to keep it. And then she eventually took on the role. I just feel like it was the storyline, just the where the camera was taking us, was showing us that this is where she is going. And what does that say about Black women taking on these roles consistently? Once again, another generation, and she's 10. So that was just something that I hadn't thought about before.
Yeah, I love that that she was just observing her mother cook. I think it was their time to be together too. Like I like that some kids, like, we love our parents, but we don't like them. But she liked her mother. She liked being around her mother.
She did.
She liked it. I mean, I love that she was balanced. She liked hanging around her kid, with her friends too. Some of my favorite funny moments were with the little girls on the porch, like you were saying, Catherine. You think you're so cute. You think you cute. You blacker than me. I mean, I remember those conversations. And I'm like, I'm not like so offended by it. Like, that's just how we spoke. Like, nobody was devastated at the end of the night. It's just like, I'm gonna make fun of your ears. I'm gonna make fun of that's just what we did. And it was so innocent.
Yeah, and that the girl, the Dominican or Puerto Rican girl, that dynamic, right? But in the bodega, I want to go, since you talk about the girls, that bodega scene, when the stealing scene, remember that?
Yeah.
And the little Puerto Rican Dominican girl went there and she stole. Oh, and before that, he made her give him a kiss.
I didn't like that.
Well, of course. I mean, that is kind of sexually on that cusp, like, right, predatory.
But
so
in the 70s, we wouldn't have noticed it. We would have been like, oh,
exactly. And so what's crazy, she's so smart. She uses her sexuality and sensuality to go back in there, have the boldness to take that pop, put it under there, and they not even paying attention. But when the Black girl, and this is when I felt some kind of way, decides, who don't normally do that, to follow her friend, hey, he sees her, chastises her, and she gets away with it. The other one, the one he liked, because he ain't paying attention. And that, to me, racism, there was a moment when I felt, I was like, see, now right there, that is a form of racism, because you are ignoring your own kind, and you're looking. And I remember moments in the bodega that I've been, living in New York, we know we got bodegas on every corner. And Catherine, our kids, when we were used to teach in the bodega, and and our kids running in, I wrote this down. I'm gonna share this with you right here. So real quick laugh. Were you bad at school today? So the question we used to ask me and Catherine when we would see kids like in the bodega randomly after school. But these kids now and then are different. So it's just interesting, like thinking about now and our students, and then watching these kids then at that time. And I don't know if you noticed that, like with the Black girls versus that one Puerto Rican girl. Even when we teach the kids, when I teach my students, is like that dynamic between the Puerto Rican, Dominican, and the Black students. I just noticed that now because I work with kids.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought that, Troy actually, I mean, not that I advocate for, shoplifting, but, Troy tried to steal a bag of chips right in front of the man. Whereas her friend went around the corner. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, but not that I advocate this. Don't get me wrong.
But I wonder if it had been switched, if he would have still noticed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but he was so in awe of her, she could have probably done it and got away with it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was the treatment. I think it was the treatment.
And Troy did get away with stealing the last time.
Yeah,
remember? Because the little girl stole her. She's like, "I stole your food pants. I'm gonna slap you next time."
Oh yeah,
yeah. Oh,
those kids were so good. I read a trivia. Good. The trivia moment when I was watching it on Prime, it said one of those trivia moments that none of those kids knew how to do the double dutch or any of the games that they were doing, and that Spike Lee had to teach them himself. I read that as part of how they do like all of the information and trivia and like things that you don't know about. That was one of the things I read. I was like, what?
They had to learn how to jump double dutch. Oh my gosh.
They had all those games they were playing. He had to teach them.
That's a cultural travesty.
It is.
And that was 1994. That was 30 years ago. So look at where we are today.
Which means they filmed it in 93.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. That's crazy. Because like
that's the millennial generation.
In 93?
Yeah, right? Oh, they were born around 91.
They were like 10. Yeah.
That's when they were born. That's when they were born. So I'm just saying now they are the age of, they're like in their 30s and 40s. So these are the ones. So they were the ones that came after that 73, I mean, came after 94. I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed.
Yeah,
94.
Yeah. That's, that's
because we were already adults.
Yes, in 93. Yeah.
94.
Yeah. Because I was thinking when I saw them playing double dutch, I'm like, oh, because I don't, Catherine, Olivia, like if you can play double dutch, you got clowned.
You had no life. Yeah. You were like, yeah. What? You were shunned. Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little younger than y'all, just a little bit. so for me, I mean, I grew up in the South too, right. So that's that from South and Midwest. But we had double dutch, but not like that in the because the 73, I know they were doing double dutches. Oh, I was probably like about 5. I wasn't doing double dutch at 5, so I didn't. In the 80s, like 82, 83, I knew about it. And some girls could because their mama taught them.
Yeah.
But I was just doing the regular one. I have to admit. I was just doing the one style.
Yeah. Yeah, we would have mocked you, Libya.
Yes.
Y'all would have, yeah.
And you would have had.
But see, it was different too.
Yeah. And you would have had nothing to do during break time because that's all, you busted out the double dutch ropes.
Yeah.
And just, that was it.
We had them, but it was just more single rope when I came up. It was like it was like crossing over because my mother can do it, but I can do it, but it just wasn't like something you saw a lot. But all those other games I could relate to. All of those other games.
But what's so funny, Libby? You said their mothers didn't teach them. Honestly, you don't want street credit that your mama taught you how to double dutch. You want credit that you just learned and you joined. That's not a good. That's not good. My mama, good look. You don't. No, it's not a good look. It's not cool. It's like you just have to like observe the girls in your neighborhood and like, can I play one day? And if you cool enough, they'll let you play. But if you turn too slow, right, Catherine?
Oh my gosh! If you're underhanded,
it's done. Right?
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember. It just wasn't like the biggest thing, but I do remember us doing it. But I just remember the older people, they were younger than like the 20-year-olds, like my mom's age at that time. My mother was like 21 during 73 or 19, 18. So I just remember them doing it. Mm-hmm. Because they were still young. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the girls, it was like older women doing it.
Yeah.
Not the young girls, because we were so young that we didn't, I don't know, but you say that, but what if we don't teach our daughters? Does it get passed out because the girls aren't doing it now?
No. Oh, well, they're going to miss out because the parents are not supposed to teach double dutch. It's supposed to be the girls in the neighborhood. You just watch and you join, you observe, and you learn. Like, you don't go to your mother to teach you double dutch.
Or at least it's
like not
private.
I'm just like, they're not jumping at all. I just want them to jump. You know, like they're not jumping, they're not playing Tweely, they're not doing that now.
And too, like, you know, when I saw all of them doing all that running, I'm like, we used to run. I don't know if y'all mother said this, but my mother, my great aunt, because we lived with my great aunt when I was 9 years old, my mother and father separated. They used to say, when we come in the house from playing in the summer, y'all smell like outside. And it took all of Jesus Christ to not say, you smell like he was.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to get smacked in the face, so I didn't say it. But baby, I want to say it. It used to make me mad. A 9-year-old and a 6-year-old used to make me mad because I'm like, they're going to say it. Y'all smell like outside. We were outside.
But there is that smell.
But my niece could say that.
There is a smell.
What'd you say? Say it again.
Oh no, I said there is that outside. There is the outside smell. It is a thing. Yeah,
she's right. But we don't need you to announce it when we're 7 years old. Like, no, because basically you're saying y'all dirty, y'all stink.
But that's what I love about my niece, because she goes, because we were outside, Mimi.
Yeah, I like my face intact.
No, Me too, Catherine. Me too.
But it's different now. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like now, it's like she says something to my mom, and they joke like that, and she allows it, because I used to do it with my mom. But she said something: you should never give a cell phone to a dinosaur.
I get it.
Because you talk about my mama like that.
What were your thoughts about the relationship between the siblings? How did that fare for you?
I can imagine what it must be like to be the only girl among boys. I have two older sisters, and I can't imagine if I had been the only one among boys. Wow. I thought that was, I thought it was really interesting to see that dynamic, and, just in terms of what they were watching on TV and all of that, that was something that was eye-opening for me. Yeah.
Okay. Libya?
Remember the tricks part? When she had those tricks on the bed? Okay, this I want to go back to that moment, because she was like, you can't have that. And it's just, so many moments. But she wouldn't give him any, right? And then I thought about it, I kept going, why won't she give him any? Why won't she give him any? Then I realized, not even the baby.
Just the dog.
Just the dog. And I realized in that moment, it took me back to a moment when I went on tour with a bunch of guys. And every time they would feed us, the food would be gone and the women never got any, because it was all these guys eating everything and they never considered the women.
Right.
So we were always like getting the leftovers, and it would never be enough bread. They just took it all. Mm-hmm. And so I said, she probably is having that feeling of, y'all not getting none, because every time I get to it with the 4 boys, y'all eat it all, and this my box. Mm-hmm. And that moment really struck me, because she always with the, peeing on the floor, because having to wait for the bathroom, like
walking,
being a girl, checking in the mirror, get out the bathroom, get out the bed, at that age where she's going through about to go through the changes, and not having anybody but her mother, which is why it was so beautiful to see those tender moments with her mom, because her mother knew what she was going through, and she even like referenced it too. And the names they call her too. Like, what did they call her? Troy Boy.
Yeah.
Troy Boy, and Red, and all these names that, we all got called names.
Oh, sure.
No. You said how many boys? What was your dynamic?
Boys.
You had 4 boys?
Oh, for me,
yeah.
Oh, Catherine.
Oh, I had 2 sisters.
2 sisters.
Yeah. I have 2 sisters, yeah.
Okay, I have 2 sisters. That's right. Yeah. I remember you have 2 sisters.
Yeah.
And I have a brother.
I'm in the middle. And I have one brother. Well,
one brother, but not all boys. Like,
yeah. I don't know what that's. But
that was my feeling of all boys.
When she checked her male cousins was just like, ugh. But that wasn't like they were, you know, in and out. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
right. Yeah, that's different.
So,
That's different.
Libya, when she checked her chest to see if she was put the tissue, I'm like, first of all, I need you, Joie. Is it Joie?
Joie.
Joie. I need you to get out of my childhood.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I did that looking in the mirror, like, am I gonna grow? I remember like 9 and
Yeah.
and the
Oh,
tissue.
yeah.
I'm like, it was so real.
So, and you know, remember when they went down south and they gave her those birthday gifts? And one of them was a training bra. And it's funny because that kind of happened here too. I mean, and I was just like, when somebody comes into their womanhood, it's like, I don't know how it is in Brooklyn, but that's one of those dynamics between the South and the North, is like how we bring young girls coming into age, you know, the nurturing of it, and the nurturing of it can be here sometimes like a bit traumatic, because if everybody knows, it's like, you don't want everybody know about something that's very private to you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It should be looked at as something to be celebrated. And I wonder, like, in the South versus the North, is there a difference in how we treat young girls who are coming into their womanhood or coming of age? So that's just something I thought about as I was watching it. I had never thought about because I was 21 and I had just come of age.
Yeah, I will say that I remember when I was 9 years old, looking in the mirror, hoping that my breast would appear out of nowhere. And my auntie's neighbor was there frequently, and she saw me, and she embarrassed. She's like, I see you looking at yourself. You ain't got nothing yet, girl. And I was just recoiled, like, because it's like, you know, you're 9, so you're not like trying to go to the bathroom, so I'm like in the middle of the hallway, so of course she's gonna see me. But it was like, as an adult, like, why don't you just keep that to yourself, you know? So that's why.
And the battle where she said, she asked her, she thought, you
ain't got nothing
with your bed. And she told her, she said, do you going to bed? She told her daughter, are you going to bed with your bra? You have your bra when you go to bed, remember? And then she switched out the pajamas. She thought, oh, these won't do. Like, that dynamic is like, I can understand that so well. Like, this ain't gonna do. We do it like this here. You got to do like this. When you in Rome, you got to do it as the Romans do. And when you come out and you're different, especially in the South, they just don't. They're not used to different. They're used to everybody under a specific type of order. You know, and New York is not like that. Brooklyn is not like that. And when she got back, that dynamic of, oh, I'm home. I like the mess. I like the trash. I'll take the arguments. I'll even take, and oh, I'm sorry, I'm about to switch in my head. The man with the big bottle top glasses.
Oh,
Tony.
my God.
Okay.
Oh.
So even taking him, you know what I mean? Yeah. With the nastiness of it all. But there was a moment talking about tender moments between him and Delroy.
Yes.
It was the moment where, oh, he's going off and everybody hates him and he's going off and he's telling, he's just like, you know, trying to be an artist, which she's bad at, you know, and Delroy listens and hears him. And you realize in that moment, he just all of a sudden comes and goes, oh, okay, yeah. Like, he heard me. He saw me. Sees me. Goes back to that feminine principle of Delroy, that character that he had created, that I know he delved into, that was so powerful and relaxing and calming, that even I went, oh, okay, yeah. You know? That moment, it was slight, but I saw it and I was like, wow. And that's Spike Lee too, capturing that.
Catherine too, like, as I was looking at it, and you know, the traditional formula of like, there's a principal character, like they're living their life, and then there's some exciting incident that happens, and they have a new goal, and they go up the goal, there's opposition to the goal. Was that formula?
No, I think that's part of the problem that I had. And I think, you know, like the first time I saw the movie, I wasn't very engaged. And then watching it, you know, and I watched it twice this week. And that's what did it for me. That's what was dragging, because I'm sitting there looking at, okay, who's the main character? What is the call to adventure? What is the refusal? And so I was trying to analyze it in that perspective. And it was like, okay, call to adventure, you know, her mother says, why don't you go stay down south? No, I don't want to go down south. Okay, well, you know, there was so much of the neighborhood stuff and like, okay, these are the games. And I love that. Yes. But they didn't contribute to the plot, you know? And so that kind of made things drag. And so I purposely looked at the, you know, the time, and I said, well, when is, you know, I said, what is the first threshold? When is she crossing the first threshold? Because really, you could say her trip to the South was crossing, going into a whole new world, but that doesn't happen till like an hour into the show.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, yeah, in terms of the structure, it kind of, I think that's what it, you know, not having it tighter made it kind of hard to follow sometimes, or just to, you know, stay focused, like, you know, like keeping the stakes rising, you know. So that's, yeah, that definitely, I had trouble following along that. How about you?
Yeah, I remember before I started watching it today, I was like, okay, I want to know who's the protagonist, who are the antagonists, what are the oppositions, da, 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 da. And as I was watching it unfold, I was like, yeah, there's no, I mean, Delroy's character was antagonistic to them paying the bills consistently. And his wife was antagonistic to him wanting to play his music and only his music. So it was like little push and pull in that regard. And the daughter would not want to go to South, but, you know, ultimately she gave in, not wanting to go to the funeral. So it was like, it was little, but it wasn't like just like Catherine has a goal. Libya and I are the antagonists of her goal, and ultimately Catherine achieves her goal in the end. So it wasn't like that, but for some reason, Catherine, in this instance, it did not bother me. It just, I think because the world was so reflective of what my own experience and my observation, and just encapsulating that part of our culture in the 70s, and the relationships between Delroy and the wife and the daughter. For me, in this instance, it was enough. It didn't like take me out. I wasn't bored. But generally, if it was somebody else, I would have been like, folks. But in the way they captured it, I was engaged the entire time. I was engaged the entire time. Did I freeze? Did I freeze?
Okay, now you're back.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Oh gosh, did y'all hear anything what I said? Oh,
most of it. It was like the last little bit.
Oh, I was saying that I was engaged in, although it didn't follow the protagonist opposition, I was engaged the entire time, and yeah. Am I hearing?
What the heck is going
on? Oh. I was engaged the entire time, despite it not being like a very clear protagonist, antagonist. I still was engaged the entire.
You know, it was interesting. I wrote this down in terms of, I was trying to figure out like, what were the goals? Okay. Right. And so like what I could figure out, Woody, AKA Delroy, you know, his whole thing was the concert. All right. Clinton was the Knicks championship.
Yes.
And then I couldn't quite figure it out for Troy, but you know, the thing that she was kind of looking forward to was her birthday. And then the fact like, oh, I'm not going to be here for my birthday. So that's, you know, I was trying to figure out like what they really want. Now with Woody and Clinton, those are tangible goals. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, his concert. Okay, well, because my point is that you could have taken this story from Woody's perspective and set it up. And so, okay, so, all right, so this concert means everything. So like, if I don't succeed at this concert, then I got to give up my music. Okay, you could raise the stakes to that point. Okay, so that's not possible. Okay.
Yeah, Clinton,
yeah. You know, here's Clinton, you know, Knicks, he's a Knicks fan. We all know the Knicks have not won nary a championship since 1973. So this, okay? So he has to choose between, oh no, my father's concert versus the Knicks championship game. So how far is he willing to go to see this game? You know what I'm saying? So that's a stake that's possibly high. You know what I'm saying? Not so much with Troy, because you're going to have a birthday no matter what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And she's the central character of the piece. I agree with what you all said. It was kind of like glossed over now that I think about it, that moment, because I was like, I had to lean in to hear when he came in and they were all at the table and he had just had his concert and he comes in to say that the next one and he's kind of upset and there's nothing, right? And nothing happens. It could have been, but I also want to give you a bit of information from that trivia when I was watching it based on what you just said. I wanted to hear what you said because this was originally written for, and I was trying to look for the information, but I couldn't find it without playing the movie and then on Zoom, because you have to play the movie to see the information. But from my memory that it was written by her brother and his brother and sister, specifically for like I think PBS or some children's like show, to put on the children's show for the kids in New York, in the Bronx, and they showed it. It was a teleplay, and they presented it to the kids, and they didn't like it.
Oh, really? Why not?
And so they didn't go into detail. The kids did not like it, and so they didn't produce it, and so Spike took it and then developed it into a film.
Well, the thing that's tricky about,
which is interesting what you said about like the development of it, and what you said that it was not originally seen as a film.
But but I guess too, when I think about like, okay, coming of age stories are kind of tricky, okay, because you're telling it from the children's perspective, right? But you still need to have like the adult wisdom that's gained. I mean, it's like you're telling the story, but it almost needs to be from the perspective of what you learned from it. So it's like you have to be older. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't feel like, I didn't feel like, we went through the kids' perspective, but there wasn't like that quote unquote wisdom at the end.
Well, you know what? Now that I'm going back about the mom knowing about the cancer, what if all of those monologues to the camera when she was talking to Ladybug and talking to them throughout the whole thing, what if those were moments when she was already gone? And what if she was the griot, the wise one in those moments, which is why he faced her in the camera, but we as the audience weren't let in on the fact that she had already gone. That this was, I don't know, as you were talking, this image came to me of, well, what is it then? Then who, when you said wise, I was like, yeah, but she kind of was, and he kept bringing that back. And at the very end, we see her in that very image combing, because remember she was picking her son, her brother's, the youngest one's hair. I looked at how beautiful that kid was the first time, because normally I was looking at her picking her, but I looked at him, I was like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful little boy I've ever seen in my life. But she was picking his hair, and then at the end we see that she's picking the hair and doing what her mom is doing from those videos and those journal entries that she was leaving behind, because she knew maybe that's why she wanted her to go off down south for a little bit, because she was going to have to take on the freaking responsibility eventually. Last hurrah. I don't know. I'm just filling in the gaps.
That's very compelling. And can I just say, as an aside, I love the fact that they had a barbershop chair in the middle of the, I'm like, I want that chair.
Yeah.
I want that chair. Okay, I love that. Because
I want that apartment. I want that brownstone.
She said, "Don't sit in my chair."
Yeah, I love that. Because that's a perfect place you put your kid. Because I mean, I had to sit on the floor when my mother did my hair. Okay,
right.
So I'm just saying, it would have been nice to have had that chair. Okay, that's just an aside.
Yeah, I do love those inserts. So it's like, and like Libby, like you were saying, yeah, maybe the whole movie was. Yeah, that is interesting.
I never thought about that before until you were talking, and you were like, there is no central in a coming of age story. And my mind just started thinking about coming of age stories, and I'm like, but you, China, I was enjoying the nostalgia so much that I wasn't thinking about plot as much, because normally, like, the first 25 pages, 25 minutes, we gotta have an inciting incident or something needs to happen. We got all the exposition out, what's going on, right? It's not that type of movie, it's more of a memoir. And then when I saw the history of what it started at, I was like, oh, okay. So maybe that's why it's kind of wasn't fully developed into the film that it could have. I mean, it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Like, we had to rate it. I would thumbs up, but
yeah,
if we're picking it up, we're not, we're just critically analyzing it a bit.
yeah.
And I agree with it.
But it says a lot, the fact that, I know, Catherine, you were saying it was like slow because it didn't follow that particular structure. I don't know why it was not bothers. Like, I think like you were saying, Libby, because it transported China back to the 70s as a little girl. And again, if it didn't have those relationships that I love so much, then I'd be like, who cares? I don't care. It's like after you go down memory lane, and it's like, now I don't care. But because of the relationship between Alfred and the little girl, and the little girl and her father, to me, that was the glue for me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'll deal with the fact that it's not like the traditional structure. As long as those as long as those relationships are strong, I was just I was in love. I fell in love with this movie yet again. And to me, it was a love letter, yes, to Spike Lee's mother, but it was a love letter to Black American culture, man.
Yeah. I wrote down Black family life in Brooklyn in 1973 because I was just trying to reference the whole picture, the full picture of it all. And just as a description, like if it was a title at the front of it, bam, that's what we're seeing. But he didn't even put that. He didn't even put a title. He just showed us what it was. And the title is CROOKLYN, so we knew. And I remember looking at it and going, and I see it's Bed-Stuy now because I looked up to see. I was like, I know is it Fort Greene? I know it's somewhere because I know that's Spike Lee's neighborhood. And I don't know if it was the area where we went trying to see them do the where did we go? The spot. She's Gotta Have It. Not She's Gotta Have It. The anniversary.
Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing. I'm sorry. Do the Right Thing way.
Lewis Avenue.
Yes, Do the Right Thing. Was that it?
I think
where it was shot.
I think it may be it's the same area he shot Do the Right Thing, because that was Lewis Avenue in Bed-Stuy.
Yeah, well, it was Bed-Stuy.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was he had the address, but I can't remember. Yeah. And speaking of those monumental moments of like places in Brooklyn that we frequent, the stairs in Fort Greene Park, right before her mom, we knew her mom had passed. And she was singing that song that she learned down south about the devil, right? But that song kind of is so funny. What's going on with me right now? It's songs like that still going on, and I just find it it was very eerie, like the same eeriness that you all felt when you saw the cinematography of The Suburbs. That's what I felt about when they were singing the song. It's like, come on, sing the song, and I was like, you singing about the devil? Like, do you think that Jesus? I never heard anybody sing the opposite way, and it was kind of like a juxtaposition. And it made me feel some kind of way because they were saying the devil over and over again versus normally you hear Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Right. So it just added to the eeriness of it all. And but when her mom had died, she was holding on to something. And that was the very thing she was holding on to, because we didn't know as an audience that long walk up those stairs, so beautifully shot, was, like the end. It was like this, I don't know, it was that connection from that north to the south, her mom leaving. It was something about that moment that Spike was trying to say, because we find out after that's when she shuts down. And that's when the funeral, she's not talking. I don't know. It's just, I want to go back and watch it again because there's so many little moments, symbolism, quiet moments, just gentle, subtle moments that Spike, kudos to him for finding.
I like
and seeing, go ahead.
Oh, I like when now this is what I really did appreciate. When Troy goes to visit her mother in the hospital, and her mother tells her to take care of the youngest one, Joseph. And so then you see that when Joseph comes in there and says, okay, somebody, they stole my money and blah, blah, blah. And you see Troy like, okay, before these these glue sniffers had gotten her, and now she's out there. She's courageous, and she boom, 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 boom. So I loved seeing that, that change in her. Because the first time I saw it, I thought like, okay, does Troy have to take care of everybody? But the mother specifically said, take care of the youngest, take care of this youngest boy, because the rest of them, because I was like, what about Clinton, who we know is Spike? Come on.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Clinton,
Juxtaposition, and not just that, images that we see, juxtaposition in the music, because in the funeral, the music was hopeful, and instead of being sad, I found myself moving to the music, like it. Another day, a better day was coming. I think that was a song that was shown. Terrence Blanchard. Terrence Blanchard just ate a hole out of this whole, that music just, it was juxtapositions all over, where we were supposed to be sad, but it was uplifting music. And I found myself like, better days are coming. It's going to be okay. Yeah. And we didn't see her body, and we didn't see inside the church. We just saw them walking out. He ended on a positive note, and I so appreciate it, even though like, we're going to be all right. And you know what? We got the community here. And, this is Brooklyn. And it ends, because what it was about was Brooklyn. That movie was about living in Brooklyn and life in Brooklyn and what family really is, because family wasn't just about their family. It was all those people. And that's New York. And y'all know that's New York. We find family on the block, on the stair, in the community. And that's why I was so, not just from my childhood, but just also my New York itself.
Yeah.
It was an homage to Brooklyn.
I love that too, because and even in Chicago, we had blocks like that, where it was like Big Mama or whatever. It's like, there's this one lady or two ladies or men, and we felt safe. And like, I'm telling your mother what you just did, China. Get back in the house. Or whatever. Yeah. Like, we have that in Brooklyn and the planet, all that too. Although it's about Brooklyn, I respect that. But I relate to it because that happened when I lived in Inglewood as a little girl. We had those people. It was a community. Like, people knew us. They knew our names.
Yes.
I love too when she said on her father's knee, and it was the very last piece of dialogue. She said, well, at least, she's dead. Something like, well, now that means she won't. That means she won't suffer. So Catherine, she has become wise. Yeah. I mean, that is a very wise statement for a child.
She's not suffering anymore.
Yeah, that's a very mature response.
And the fact that the fact that Joie and Spike Lee and Sync said, we want that to be the very last statement that is made in this movie, speaks volumes to me. It's just like, we want to leave the audience with that.
You know what would okay, so I got to tell this story. I talked to Spike Lee about, I had a suggestion for him, and now I have another suggestion. I'm going to say it here right now. Spike, would be really a great idea if you can adapt this CROOKLYN into a stage play, because it would be a beautiful stage play. When you think about the dynamic of it, it's about family. You know what I'm saying? I could see the brownstone outside. I could see the kids playing. It could be done. It would be beautiful, because you don't need a lot of locations, to do it, So that's one. And then one time I saw him at the Tupac musical. It was the opening night. Right. And he was there, and I made my way around to say hello to him nervously. And I told him I went to FAM. He was like, oh, FAM. He was very friendly. And then I said, you know what you should do? You should remake She's Gotta Have It. That's what before he did it. No, I said you should remake School Days. No, School Days. I said you should remake School Days.
Yes.
Before he did it, She's Gotta Have It. And he said, remake it into what? And what I should have said is a musical on Broadway, just like they just did with Tupac. Oh. But wanna beach,
That would be. It's certainly. I certainly would rather see that, because I'm not looking forward to seeing, what's the other one that's on Broadway now as a musical, Back to the Future.
Yes.
I could totally see School Days as a musical, and you're right. I think CROOKLYN would be a really interesting play. But
yeah,
she's got a habit making it into a TV series.
That was amazing. That was his wife's suggestion. It's interesting because she suggested that, and they did, and it was very successful. So I don't know. I love that I think that there should be something done now that it's the 30th anniversary. Something needs to be done. It needs to be shown around people need to be showing it in their film houses in the cities.
Yes.
In the communities.
I'm curious, like, which scenes impacted you all the most, and which cinematography, Catherine, you've been a filmmaker, which scenes did you feel like the cinematography was most elevated in you?
You know what I like, what stands out for me, I thought the opening sequence was very powerful. And I always like the overhead shots.
Yes.
So I love, like, you see the overhead shot of the kids playing.
Yes.
That I loved. And because I felt like, he was taking me into the story, and I already knew exactly where we were before anyone had even said a word. So I loved his opening shots. Yeah.
Ditto.
Yeah, I was trying to go through and I can't think of anything but that, because it went on, the music and that opening shot went on for a period of time. It went on, it was a part of the music actually was a character. That's what I wrote down. It's like the music is a character, because that music was informing so many things. Back to that, like the contradiction of it was just, so yeah, that imaging and the music and the images for me too.
So let's say what was the takeaway for you ladies in experiencing this particular story?
I came away with I came away with the whole message, and I wrote it down here. Families stick together, and family does not necessarily mean blood, or whatever. And I think that to me was like the big takeaway. And I think that's something that's been kind of lost. I miss the days like when you didn't want to do anything in front of a neighbor because they could tell your parent, heck, they could give you a whooping before you even. Then, your parents are like, oh, you did what? Oh, here's another whooping. So I miss that accountability, and I think that this is what this movie was kind of taking you back to. So that was the big takeaway for me.
Okay. Olivia?
I agree with a lot of what you said, and I want to add to that. It felt like the phrase that came to me when you were speaking was "home is where the heart is," and I feel like wherever you feel most comfortable at, and that's for her was with all the chaos and messiness for them there, at least, even though it was, he said, we're gonna go back to bad old Brooklyn, when the uncle was driving them back. And that, I took a little offense to that. We're going to bad old Brooklyn, Bob. And I went, you know what? Well, bad old Brooklyn with all this messiness and poop and trash and the things that it has, there's authenticity. And I'll take authenticity. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like this was about. It was about, a coming of age of a young Black girl growing up in the 70s in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, who had to take on the responsibilities just like we always do throughout time. But we do it anyway, and we're hopeful because we always overcome and sometimes end up in positions where we can become president of the United States of America.
Ooh, well, look at Libya. I'm supposed to come behind that? Really?
And I thought I had just come from church. Okay.
Supposed to come. Oh, thank you. I feel like I was about to say something, but I'll leave that alone. Well, what my takeaway is the love that you get from both your mother and your father and your aunt. If it's really genuine, it's going to serve you well. It's going to serve you into adulthood. And community is key, regardless of one's background. If you feel respected and protected and looked after, it doesn't matter who it is. And so that was my takeaway. And thank you, Spike Lee. I will say this, and I think Spike Lee's movies are the reason gentrification popped off in Brooklyn. because he made Brooklyn so beautiful and appealing that you just wanted to run to Brooklyn. And every time she comes to New York, every time she comes, she wants to go to Brooklyn. Not Harlem, not Queens, she wants to go to Brooklyn. And when I visited New York, I wanted to go to Brooklyn because of Spike Lee's films.
China is so crazy. You should say that because I forgot about that.
That is celebrating your work, Spike Lee. That's not disrespect.
It is. I was like, I think I ended up in Fort Greene because of Spike Lee. And then when you were saying, I'm like, and then you came in 2006. I came in 2007 into Brooklyn. And I realized now that was psychologically at 21 years old being embedded into my mind. Just like Sesame Street, my conversation with Sophia is Sesame Street didn't trick me into wanting to go to New York City because of Alphabet City and come and play. And everybody was on the little steps and stoops and, so psychologically, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. That is Spike Lee. You are the reason.
You are the reason, Spike. Your movies. That's right. Catherine, did Spike Lee's movies influence you to visit New York, or you just already had a love for New York, Brooklyn?
You know what? I knew that I wanted to move here ever since I was 7 years old. My family came here for vacation when I was 7, and we stayed in Midtown and went to the Statue of Liberty, went to Little Italy, went to Chinatown, did all these things. And I just knew, I was like, I'm coming back here to live.
And you never left, and you came and you did what you was going to. Me too. I wanted to come. I always like, I'm going to New York. I actually wanted to go to London first. And I did go to London and study. And then I was like, no, New York, because, I want to be an actor. I never thought about the LA thing. I wanted to come to New York. What about you, China?
I never wanted to go to LA. No shade. I just,
yeah.
But their movies don't make me want to visit that place. Just don't. But Spike Lee movies made me want to visit New York. Okay, Spike Lee movies Spike Lee movies and The Wiz made me want to visit New York.
The Wiz, yes.
Spike Lee inspired me, definitely in terms of independent filmmaking, because before Spike Lee, I did not see how you could do it, and I have the book. I have most of his film books from his first few movies, but the one that I tell everybody is like, if you ever want to do filmmaking, this is the book you have to have. It's called Spike Lee's Gotta Have It. And it goes along with She's Gotta Have It.
Yes.
And it just, he basically has a diary in there, like everything he was thinking and going through when he was making this film. And sure, the technology has changed since then, but it's still the same obstacles that you have to overcome. So so Spike Lee definitely was a huge inspiration to me, because I just never thought, I didn't want to be part of the Hollywood system. I wanted to tell my own stories. And, he definitely showed a way to do that. So he's definitely he didn't, inspire me to move to New York, but he certainly inspired me to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And he also,
I would also say the same for me. I will say, like, when I remember I saw School Days when I was like 19, 20. I didn't see the cinema, but my ex-boyfriend, he rented it. And I was like, I remember crying because when they were doing their songs, and she said, your hair ain't no longer than that. So fling it all back. And then some girl was like, well, don't you ever worry about that, because I don't mind being black. Yo, tears. Because I saw for the first time Black women with short hair, who are dark skinned, who were gorgeous and articulate. And not that they didn't exist, but I'm saying in cinema, in the film that I liked, and her saying, I don't mind being Black, I just started crying, because I'm like, oh, wow. I'd never heard it articulated in a film. And Spike Lee, I became a fan of his body of work as a filmmaker, and he's totally influenced on me. You see any of my films, you're like, yeah, that's Spike Lee influence. It's everywhere, especially the cinematography and the color palette. So respect to Spike Lee's filmmaking legacy.
I'm gonna also include another thing he's responsible for is HBCU attendance, because when I was 91, I went to FAMU, and also Living a Different World was on. So it was like a combination of Black college life that appeal. And I was also, in the South, and Florida's got a lot of HBCUs here in the South. So people are very serious about that here. About them here because a lot of them are here. So that it was a push to go. And I remember being in the dorms and watching School Days and watching, and being at a Black college and being like, and it just made you feel so proud to be there. And we were on blast. We were proud and Black, and, and you were seeing, being there, you were seeing different types of Black people. You saw it wasn't a monolith. And it's just shocking to me that we're in 2024 and there are people who still think that Black people are a monolith. What do? We've given you movies, we've given you this, we've given you all these things, sports, books, we've given you our lives, but we still don't get the respect of the accomplishments. And we just shouting out Spike Lee right now because there are a lot of people in this present day are being shouted out as filmmakers and we have to remember the shoulders that we are on. I mean, he's one of the shoulders now. He's one of the elders. He's an elder now. Spike, people think Spike stayed 30. He didn't. He's an older man now.
Yeah.
So it's just so refreshing to go back. And that's why you have to make movies, because that's what we leave behind for our youth. Now I want to watch it with my niece. I want to sit her down and show her this little 10-year-old girl, because she's coming of age now. And he left that gift for me to now sit down with my niece and show her. It's just so precious,
Yeah, and since we're all women here, we definitely want to let's give respect to his sister Joie, because this is her story. So respect to her. Thank you for sharing this particular story, because it mirrors so many of our experiences. So I'm really grateful. So we're gonna wrap this up and say let's go ahead and rate this bad boy.
Okay.
Outside of rating Delroy to being the yummiest actor in the movie.
We forgot to mention Isaiah Washington.
Isaiah Washington fine stuff, because he fine too.
That's what I was saying.
But that Delroy, he's just anyway. Ladies, go ahead and take over with the rating. How would you rate? Let's rate the ensemble acting, the cinematography, the writing, and then the music.
Okay.
On a scale from 1 to 4,
1 to 5. 1 to 5.
1 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay. For the ensemble acting, I would say 4.5. Music 5, or if I could go higher, I'd go higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the writing? I know that's trickier for you.
I give it 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah, 2.5.
Libya? Oh, cinematography. Sorry.
Okay. I have to give it 3, and that's only because of that the weird looking.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So 3, maybe 3.5.
Okay. Libya.
Okay, so the first one was
ensemble.
Yeah, bad ensemble. 4.8. And the other one was
writing.
I'm gonna give the writing 4.0.
Okay. Cinematography.
You all are the filmmakers, so I didn't catch that. So I'm gonna pretend like I didn't see that, and I'm gonna go, because I just thought it was gorgeous when they were in Brooklyn. So I'm gonna say 4.5.
Directing. I'm sorry, I didn't say directing.
Oh, directing. Oh, and then also music. I didn't say music.
Yes,
music. I'm like y'all, 11.0.
And directing.
And the directing, Spike was amazing. 4.8 on the directing.
I got to say, working with kids, 5, baby.
Okay.
and
girl,
5 for that alone.
Girl, listen.
Yes.
Listen. So, okay, for ensemble, for me, I'm gonna say, just because Delroy and freaking Alfred and the little girl alone,
all of them.
5. They just they'll make up for everybody else. But I even love the kids acting. I love the kids acting. So 5, cinematography 5, directing, I'm gonna say 5. Writing, I would say that the dialogue was so good. I'm gonna say 4. Music, 10.
Yeah. all agree the music was.
Music
Terrence
was
Blanchard, shout out to
Shout out to
Terrence
him.
Blanchard for arranging all of that music and whew, he depicted it and like compose it and put it together, and that's work. That's arranging and yeah.
Okay, so
what about you? Oh, you already just did it.
I did mine. So
did it. Okay.
let's share with the audience members what you all are doing and how they can follow you and support you in whatever your project.
Oh, yes.
Catherine.
Okay. I have a blog called Cinema Nero. It's on Substack.com. So if you just Google Cinema Nero Substack, it will pop up. I blog regularly analyzing films from a socio-political perspective. And I will be actually doing Do the Right Thing, because I think this is the 35th anniversary for Do the Right Thing. So I will be doing that in the next few weeks.
Okay, beautiful. How can they follow you on social media?
Social media, I'm also on Instagram at Cinema Nero. I think it's cinema_Nero, Nero. And Facebook, I'm trying to phase off of that. And Twitter, I'm on Threads too, but I haven't been active, but I will be. So Threads too, but I'm probably more reachable on Insta and definitely with the blog.
Okay, Lady Libya.
Hi, Libya Pugh, LIBYAPUGH. Pretty much that's my handle across all social platforms except on Instagram is with a V, Libya V Pugh. Also, I created my Substack too. I have not done my first post, but it is Libya Pugh Substack. And I think I'm on yours, Catherine, for sure. I've been reading your stuff. So that's how you find me.
Yeah, you can find me at China Latish on Instagram, my website, ChinaLCoasting.com. If you're in a position, I'm still seeking donations for my feature film, a feature screenplay, To Cook or Not to Cook, and my short film Nefertiti. So you can just go to my website and make a donation if you choose to. Thank you all so much for.
I'm sorry. What's your
yes, go ahead, Catherine.
What's your website?
Oh, it's my name, ChinaLCoasting.com.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So thank you. I hope you all enjoyed our exchange about the wonderfully classic film CROOKLYN by his sister Jawad Sink and Spike Lee, and it's a funky joint. Anything else you all want to leave?
Hey, I'm just mellowing off. I love the ending with the Soul Train.
Yes,
loved it.
and Soul Train the musical is coming to Broadway too.
Woo! So ready for that.
Written by Dominique Morisseau. So
so ready.
Looking forward to that. That was awesome. I was like, yes, perfect.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you so much and take care. Peace. Chinese.
All right.